That's what she said.
That is what she said, which I found very offensive.
Ironic.
Ironic indeed. Anyway, we were just talking about Batman R.I.P. and we were talking about the bridge that Grant Morrison is currently doing.
Which I'm loving. I don't find it superfluous.
And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that it's bad. I just think that between R.I.P., Last Rites, and Final Crisis, it's been fairly established what happened. I mean, and again, 701 kind of proved that because it's pretty straightforward what happens. And that's the thing is, I mean, it's good. But it's a fairly straightforward telling of what's going on. I mean, he basically, as is assumed, gets out of the water, recovers from the accident. But apparently, the stranger thing is that no one seems to know that he's done this. Because a lot of the main characters, although it seems to be understood that the characters understand that he meets his demise in Final Crisis, but they don't seem to realize that he's recovered from R.I.P. even. So anyway, we come out of 701. We're coming out of 701 and 702, which will naturally bridge us into Final Crisis. But we got in the time at Batman from Grant Morrison and Lee Garbett on art, who did great work on Batgirl recently. They did the Last Rites arc of Batman. And what that was, essentially, was kind of almost a recap of Batman's career and events at that point. And it's got Batman in the situation he's in Final Crisis. In Final Crisis, which he becomes a part of, as it's been he was told that his next case would be his last.
Right.
And so that ends up being Final Crisis, and in a way it does. He gets involved when Orion is killed, and he's on scene to investigate. And at the end of 701, he becomes onto Orion's death scene with the traced out chalk line and everything. Deicide, death of a god. Deicide, yeah. Like deity.
Yeah, well, no. Yeah, I just didn't know it was a word.
Everything's a word. Everything is a word, indeed. So he comes onto that at the end of 701, so I imagine 702 is going to be a natural bridge as to his actual demise at the end of Final Crisis. Or exit as he's getting killed in Final Crisis.
Exactly.
Or not killed. But
I mean,
we come out of Last Rites, and Last Rites kind of shows the logistics of what Darkseid tries to use Batman for. It shows the attempted cloning of Batman. Basically, Darkseid's plan in Final Crisis that's not necessarily touched on in Final Crisis. It's more so touched in his Last Rites issues. Is that Darkseid tries to use Batman as a template for an army.
Right.
And so he starts cloning Batman. But it turns out that the clones can't sustain Batman's memories. The amount of trauma. Kind of showed just how much of a badass Batman is.
Yeah, it's inhumanly possible.
Inhumanly possible to undergo everything Batman has and still function. I mean, these clones are killing themselves, basically. Clawing their eyes out and shit. Ridiculous. So you end up with... Melting. Yeah, I mean, you're clones. So what can you do? Anyway, so Batman, naturally, due to the machinery just malfunctioning and breaking down, is able to break free. And we won't get into the logistics of Final Crisis. I actually have a Final Crisis video out there if you want Final Crisis talk. We're not going to get into that because he hasn't read it.
And all you really need to know, because
you just need to read issues 6 and 7, basically.
What it is, it's all about this for me. Although I would like to give a small shout out to some comics that I don't think are getting the attention they deserve. Real quick, if you like the pulp kind of stories from the 30s, very Indiana Jones, go pick up Doc Savage and go pick up The Spirit. They're actually well done. Also,
and Brian Azzarello is actually going to be coming on to Doc Savage soon.
Right after First Wave.
Actually, before First Wave has had a very erratic publishing schedule.
Yeah, it was
supposed to be monthly, and it's now become bi-monthly, which kind of bugs me because, and I kind of feel that these solo series they did should have waited until after First Wave. At least until more issues of First Wave had come out. Because right now we've only got issues 1 and 2.
Right.
So it's easy to go find it if you want it.
Issues 4
and 4 of The Spirit and Doc Savage. So I mean. And Doc Savage has great art by Howard Porter, who did JLA with Grant Morrison.
Great, and it really does harken back to that 30s pulp time.
Oh yeah, Howard Porter was fantastic. Howard Porter did JLA with Grant Morrison. He's done some fantastic stuff, so check it out.
Yeah, definitely worth it. So, what we were saying?
We were saying with the Last Rites issues, we kind of get those. Final Crisis rather. Right. Final Crisis, naturally, Batman breaks free at the end of Last Rites, and in Final Crisis 6. Finally makes his presence known to Darkseid in a great sequence drawn by J.G. Jones, who some of you may remember from Wanted with Mark Miller and Marvel Boy with Grant Morrison. And he also did the covers for 52. And was supposed to do Final Crisis by himself, but wasn't fast enough. He had to get Carlos Pacheco and the Doug Mahnke to help him. But, again, Final Crisis video for the details. what you need to gather from Final Crisis as far as the Batman epic goes is that Batman has basically his showdown with Darkseid.
Right.
Batman takes the bullet that killed Orion.
And a lot of people, including me, because again, haven't
this
read.
Is where, yeah, you get a very semi-controversial issue.
An interest read, because all you really need to know is Batman breaks the one rule.
Batman picks up the gun. I say it's kind of actually one of my favorite lines in the Grant Morrison's run, is that Batman picks up the gun that was used to kill Orion, takes the bullet that was used to kill him, because the whole point is that Darkseid fires the bullet from the present into the past to kill Orion. I believe Jay Garrick said it best, time travel makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
So we get Darkseid firing that bullet, but then Bruce Wayne turns it back on him by having the bullet from the past. And so Batman breaks the cardinal rule, but in a way kind of brings things full circle.
Yeah.
Kind of knows that he's going down, so just takes the bullet and the gun that created him to defeat the ultimate evil. And so almost unmaking himself in the process. And in a way, unmaking himself in the process.
Oh, definitely unmaking himself.
And so he shoots Darkseid, which will eventually, with the help of the Flashes, Superman, and Green Lanterns, lead to his defeat. But as he shoots him, Darkseid hits Batman with the Omega Sanction, which doesn't kill him.
No.
It simply sends him back in time. And the idea...
Batman.
That'll be the next issue when we get into Return of Bruce. Or the next video when we get into Return of Bruce. Well, we might have time for it now.
Yeah.
So he goes into that, and naturally, and then this is the big issue, is that Superman finds what we assume to be Batman's body, which causes some mild confusion, because at the end of Final Crisis, this is the only other thing you take out, we see Batman in the past, as in the caveman times, with his utility belt, assumedly next to Anthro, who's the first human or the one that discovered fire or something. He's at the beginning of Final Crisis 2. And Metron was the one that gave them fire. Ha, Metron, you're a dick. So we exit Final Crisis now, knowing Batman is alive in the past. Right. And the kind of logistics of the Omega Sanction is it's supposed to make you lead increasingly worse existences or some weird shit like that. So we know Batman's alive, but nobody else does.
Right.
Except Tim Drake, who's the one person that kind of believes that he's not dead.
Yeah, he's very Fox Mulder about it. I want to believe. He doesn't really believe. He just wants to believe.
He believes, and he also becomes to believe that there's more evidence to suggest that there is more going on here. So we exit Final Crisis, and we enter, well, the arguably much, much worse Battle for the Cowl. Now, Battle for the Cowl, we're only mentioning as it was a means to an end, and it's probably going to close out this video. But Battle for the Cowl was written and drawn by Tony Daniel. Now, if Tony Daniel had drawn it, I would have been okay with it. Yeah. Because his art was good. Yeah. Now, I would have much preferred.
Beautiful to look at.
Beautiful to look at. Now, the issue I had, and then again, you had guys like Knight and Squire again appearing. You had Damian. But the issue that I had is just Tony Daniel's writing. Now he got better. Yeah. His Batman arcs that he did later were much better. But but this was
Black Mask.
Black Mask. I think it was Life After Death. His Riddler arc, and he's coming back. I would have much preferred even if Grant Morrison could have done it, if someone like Paul Dini or even anybody almost. Hell, give me Phil Jimenez, who never writes, to do this.
I'd even prefer Neil Adams.
Neil Adams, hell, anybody. Just this was, and again, he got better, which was kind of surprising. Yeah. Because Battle for the Cowl was so bad, and then the Black Mask arc was decent, bordering on good.
I actually thought it was great. Even.
It was. It was really quite surprising. That was the best thing about it is how much better it was. So you had Battle for the Cowl, which was solely a means to an end. It was solely Bruce Wayne's gone, who's going to be Batman? And it became the final throwdown between the triple threat of Tim Drake versus Jason. Basically, all the former Robins battling it out to be Batman.
Who would have guessed that?
No. And you know Tim Drake's not going to be Batman.
Nah.
And he's wearing the 70s Batman suit. You don't deserve to be Batman if you wear that suit.
It's better
back
than
to Adam West.
One that has nipples.
Touche. So it doesn't even come down to them. So it mostly comes down to Dick Grayson versus Jason Todd.
Right.
Jason Todd becoming a very cutthroat vigilante Batman, uses guns. And at this point, Michael Lane has become Azrael. Become a new Azrael to kind of help in the meantime as well. So time's running down. All you got to take out of Battle for the Cowl is at the end of it, Dick Grayson's Batman, Jason Todd is MIA, and Damian, rather, is Robin. So that takes us out of Final Crisis, through Battle for the Cowl, into Batman and Robin, which we're going to talk about next.